In this video, we'll be using the Digidesign Venue to shape a kick drum using no plugins. We'll use the onboard EQ, compressor, and gate to get the sound that we want. First thing we'll do is pull up the kick drum and get rid of some of the mid-range frequencies. Mid-range frequencies in a drum make it sound like it's made out of plastic or cardboard, and in general just make the drum sound cheap and bad. There are two ways to do this. The first way is you can boost and find the most offensive frequency and then get rid of it. Generally in a kick drum, you're going to find yourself cutting somewhere between 200 and 600 or 700 hertz, maybe even twice. So we'll get rid of that, and then we'll play with our Q or width to make sure that we're getting rid of all the frequencies that we need to get rid of. We'll go a little wider. Now that we got rid of some of the bad frequencies, we'll go ahead and add some of the frequencies that we want to hear. We'll start in the low end and add something below 100 hertz. I generally like to add a little lower, somewhere around 40 or 50 hertz. Now here we'll make our Q a little wider and add some low end. After we've cleaned the drum up a little bit by getting rid of the mid-range frequencies and then added some low frequencies to give the drum some body, we'll work on the attack of the drum. To do this, there are a few approaches. You can do a shelf in the high frequencies, and I'll usually start around 2K and shelf everything up a little bit. On the Venue, if you push the Q button in, it becomes a shelf. So by doing this, you add some overall attack to the drum. Now, if you want to get more specific with the attack, the two frequencies that I find work really well are 4K and 10K. So we'll go up to about 10K, add a little bit, take off the shelf by pushing in the Q knob. Now you'll hear that these frequencies add a nice air and a nice attack to the drum. Now as you can also hear, you have to be careful because you'll get lots of cymbals by doing this. Now another frequency, 4K, go ahead and add some of that. Now this, if you overdo it, can sound like you're hitting two pieces of wood together. So you kind of have to be careful, but it can be a good thing. So we'll do a little bit of both. Get our kick drum sounding like we want it to sound. Now that we have the kick drum EQ'd and sounding like we want it to, we'll go ahead and gate the kick drum to get rid of the unwanted cymbals that you're hearing in the background. First thing I'll do is turn the gate on. Then I'll go ahead and set my attack and release times. I want my attack time to be as fast as it'll go so that I'm not missing any of the hit of the drum. My release time is determined by my room most of the time. If my room tends to resonate a lot in the low frequencies, then I'll use a shorter release time. But if I have a good room and a good kick drum, then I can be a little more natural on my hold and release times for my gate on the kick drum. In this case, our room's a little loose, so I'll stick with a relatively short release time. I'll set it somewhere around 200 milliseconds. And my hold is around 100. Now, I'll adjust my threshold so that the gate only opens when the kick drum hits and not when the cymbals or snare hit. I'll take it as low as I can go without other things opening the gate. Another thing that would help a lot on this is using a side chain. To do this, we'll turn our key on in the right, turn on the high frequency filter, and pull that down all the way to around 100 hertz. So just by doing that, we no longer need to raise our threshold to get rid of the cymbals. We can play with the threshold again and make sure that it's at the optimum setting. I like to set my threshold as low as it can possibly go while still opening for the kick drum, but not opening for cymbals and other instruments in the kit. This ensures that you're not going to miss any of the kick drum hit, and if the drummer doesn't always hit the kick at the same volume, it's still going to open. Now I'll move on to compressing the kick. First thing we'll do is turn on the compressor. Now the idea with compressing the kick is to add a little more punch and get rid of some of the resonance if you're having problems with that. So to start with, I'll set my attack all the way fast, and I'll set a mid-range release speed. I'll raise my ratio to around 4:1. Now you can hear that the kick sounds pretty unnatural at this point. So I'll play with my attack time so that part of the kick signal sneaks through the compressor, and then the compressor will compress the resonance. Now I'll lower my threshold a little more. And now I'll let you hear before and after. As you can hear, it does add some punch to the drum, but at the same time, it's not as natural sounding and can kill a little too much of the resonance if you're not careful.